I took birth control. But my wife still wants a divorce since I got her friend pregnant during our 3 months of dating. Her friend's desire to retain the baby is the driving force behind this divorce. I used to have a fantastic connection with my wife, Letty. We were married for 4 years after meeting each other 8 years ago, and our marriage was wonderful for a long time. Although we had our share of problems, we were able to resolve them and never let a day go by without making amends. That made us joyful. Over the past year, we've become more daring in our bedroom antics. After something happened in our family, Letty decided to stop being so reserved and start acting on her wildest ideas, which led to her finding her artistic outlet in the bedroom. Whatever piqued our interest, we gave it a go. We would try anything that we saw on TV or read about. It was a blast spending time with you. Once she tried something she was very interested in, she gave me the freedom to choose. You should pick something you've always wanted to do but never got the chance to, she advised. She asked me how it would be to be with 2 girls, and I foolishly said that I've always wondered. She got on board and began making arrangements for a trio. That moment still makes me sad. Abby, a girl we know, was our final choice. One of her co-workers. She is the kind of girl who puts her faith in crystals, energy, vibes, and the like. She is a fun, carefree girl to be around. We informed her, and she ultimately consented. In addition to the fact that she is visually distinct from my wife, we picked her because we were confident she would accept. Although she is little, has fair complexion, short hair, and tiny breasts, I'm not saying she's ugly. My wife has tan skin, long, gorgeous hair, and an amazing figure. That was the plan all along. Would feel comfortable with her, or with comparing the two of them. Consequently, we made the statement, she came over, and we stayed the night. I deeply regret that. Regardless of how wonderful those hours may be right now, I would do anything to go back to that night and put everything on pause. Everything was perfect the next days. Because Abby kept it under wraps and Letty was pleased that I enjoyed it, it was like going on another idyllic journey. Then, after what seemed like an eternity, Letty began to withdraw. Resting on the opposite side of the bed from me, she expressed her reluctance to be touched in any way, even hugging. After I persisted, she admitted that it was because of the trio and no longer blamed her exhaustion. She confided in me that she was feeling terrible, deceived, and used, regardless of how much fun she had that night. That she would never forget the scene where I made love to another woman. She felt uneasy whenever I was in close proximity to her. We went to therapy and attempted to talk about it. I did everything I could to reassure her that our love was real, and that our affair was a pipe dream. My phone rang. And it was Abby. Because her menstruation was later than usual, she worried she may be pregnant. That was the final straw that broke my marriage. My wife had already requested a divorce, and had already left the house. Knowing that another woman is carrying my child is too much for her, she stated, so she won't even look at me. Whatever I say or do, she already considers it over. At the same time, Abby confirmed her pregnancy by taking a pregnancy test. Even though I use protection frequently and even check it after usage, I have no idea how she became pregnant. According to Abby, the baby is definitely mine. She claims she is quite certain, as she hasn't done it with anybody else for months prior to me. That she extended an offer to conduct a DNA test upon the baby's birth in order to dispel any uncertainties. All my life I feel like I messed up. Even though Letty is my soulmate, she refuses to see me. Abby isn't a terrible friend, she's just the kind of person who needs moderate amounts of attention, and now I feel permanently attached to her. She wants me to be a part of the baby's life and wants to keep the baby. I wish I could just vanish sometimes. I'm at my wit's end. That careless decision has caused my entire existence to unravel. I am at a loss for action. I appreciate everyone's feedback on this edit. A great deal. I figured it would be more appropriate to respond here. All I want to do is clarify a few points that you all seem to be making. 1. I popped a condom. On each of the occasions that we engaged in this activity that evening, I made sure to purchase condoms, check their integrity after use, dispose of them properly, and complete the process outdoors. 2. We took our time with the 3 of us. We deliberated over it for a long time, spoke a lot, and checked in with each other to make sure we were on the same page several times. 3. There was some hesitation before we added a 3rd one. Our experiments began far earlier than that. Having fun and acting horny. This was merely an additional experiment. Nobody was coerced into doing anything. I simply stated that, because I was at a loss for words at the time. Her suggestion that we give it a go caught me off guard. In this case, there is no way to get an abortion. Babies are Abby's desire. 5th, my native tongue is not English, as you may have noticed. Pardon my mistakes. The 6th point is that Abby is eager to participate in a DNA test, which I discussed with her. Comments, Bob, and Barker will always be emphasized. In order to establish your paternity, Abby can take blood tests right now. It is not necessary to wait till the baby is born. Tommy Chong Yu and Abby's desire for him to be involved in the child's life is somewhat foolish. She became pregnant by mistake while playing three-card Monty with a married couple. Do it for real, girl. Sam Deed, when the little one finds out how they came to be, they are going to be bewildered. When you're single, Inca 18, you don't do threesomes. The number of situations like yours I see every day is ridiculous, and threesomes within partnerships always end in breakups. No one should ever treat their coworkers that way. On top of that, he pretended she wasn't pretty, even though he painted a really lovely picture of her. Update. Hi there. A few people have messaged me requesting an update, and I believe I can provide one. My friend Abby and I ended up taking the exam. I am the patriarch. As things stand, it appears that my kid will be born, but she is willing to conduct another test after the baby is born if I want to be sure. I interpreted it in the worst way imaginable at first. Being such an idiot was the source of my constant self-torture. I feel like the biggest idiot for asking my wife to let another girl into our bedroom after reading some of the responses. Afterwards, Abby and I had a conversation. She has decided to keep the kid, is eager to become a mother, and wants me to play the role of father. She told me she didn't want me to move in with her and get married, but rather that I would be the one to handle all of the baby-related duties, get along well with her and the baby, and be a good friend to the baby. In addition to apologizing for the way things turned out, she explained that she had no intention of hurting either me or Li T, and that she was simply trying to have fun. She expressed her gratitude and excitement for the baby. Even though we're on good terms today, I'm still not entirely at ease with her. What makes me question her sincerity is her statement that she wouldn't mind having fun with me again if I had to leave my marriage and wind up divorcing my wife. Contrarily, my wife has not initiated the divorce process as of yet. We have spoken, and she has returned. When she first became upset with me, I let her say and do whatever she wanted. I felt like I deserved every slur and name she threw my way. She broke down and wept as she assured me she loves me even after all this. After what happened, she claims she can't bear to be with me, but she also claims she can't bear to be without me. The trio is no longer an issue. My pregnancy with Abby is now the focus of this piece. It's challenging. We are both bewildered and terrified, and we have no idea how. We will overcome this. My wife's libido has been on the rise as of late, which further my confusion. She craves distance after briefly seeking connection. After she goes to another room, she wants to be kinky and do the things we used to attempt and play. I questioned her about it, and she said she has no idea. She simply feels the need for it. She has not yet overcome her insecurities over us, our identity, and our location. There is no way out of this jam as long as divorce is considered. I wish I knew what to do, but I'm confused about the correct course of action and how to fix this. The responsibility of caring for the baby will fall on my shoulders, but I also want to keep my marriage together. Remarks. Sour_2514 animator. I would exercise extreme caution while speaking to Abby about such remarks. I hope that both you and the lady are on the mend. Totally messed up, that's how I feel. Some parts of me don't trust her. People are strange. Sever all ties with her. Paying child support is an exception, but apart from that, put as much distance between you as possible, else your marriage prospects will plummet. It's a shepherd named Wham, Lana. I'm not going to assume that Abby has babysat you just yet, but her recent actions raise serious suspicions. Consult an attorney, have a custody plan ready to go, get another test done after the baby is born, and then put the plan into play. You and your wife are free to decide on the details. No matter what they are, they should ensure that your wife and Abby remain completely separated. In order to give you more time to be a dad and have fun, Abby may try to ruin your marriage. But thank goodness I didn't mess up while searching for it. Please allow me to run the generative PO. It would be best if you and your wife relocate. Bringing a child into the world who isn't hers and making her live with the continual reminder of your misdeeds will ruin your marriage. Donate to the child's fund, but maintain your distance. If you contact Demand Abby, they will only do so via an attorney. It is evident that she does not intend any harm. I really don't get humans, man, and this is the official sippy. I am not an expert in that area. You are fortunate to have a woman who supports your busy sexual life. For what reason do you believe that a trio is the best option? Not to mention inviting a married couple and instructing them to form a trio. How sexually unstable are you all? My friend, you need to consider before you act. Stop playing pointless games and winning pointless prizes. We all make errors because we're human, but there's a limit to what's acceptable. You crossed the line, ruined your marriage, and now some random bi.ch wants to keep the baby she got from you. In life, what more could you possibly want? It's best to be alone and indulge in your she without involving a loved one. If you can't keep a private intimate connection going and have a lot of sexual fantasies. Bro, order 6 and 9. Wore condoms and alternated between them frequently. She became pregnant in what way? Now, if the DNA belongs to you, then it belongs to you. However, if everything was well planned, then it won't. There is no indication in any of your messages that you made any effort to learn when or how she became pregnant. In the aftermath of the threesome, where were you all, where was she, and where had the threesome occurred? Also, where did you guys dispose of the condoms? Who stayed the night? Was washing and flushing the condoms part of the process, or did you simply toss them in a bin? Oh, I'm sure I'll hear something about not flushing, but I really don't care about that right now. I need explanations for why she now wants a baby, how she wants you to be involved, how she wants you to be active, and all the other things she wants. My friend, I am at a loss for words. To be clear, she is not seeking companionship. This woman has been secretly plotting to depose your wife and has shown a strong interest in you. She is willing to share you with that woman if she cannot have you herself. In spite of this, she is deaf and wants to hold you near. Another question for you: how involved or interested was she with your wife during the threesome? Just how much effort did she put into her? Did she accomplish anything else? Although it's commendable that you used condoms, it's likely that scissoring may have caused you to bust your wife if you used condoms exclusively on her. Another possible scenario is if you threw a tantrum at your wife, causing her to completely collapse on Abby. All I'm doing is speculating. Apologies if I come across as graphic or anything. Why have you or anybody else considered the possibility that she became pregnant? I'm simply wondering. We used condoms every time, we messed up big time. Condom failure is quite unusual, according to one of the doctors I spoke with. It requires a tiny, almost microscopic, invisible hole and a great deal of misfortune, but it's certainly doable. I deposit the discarded condoms in the room's wastebasket. She could never sneak them away from us, unnoticed. After we finished in our room, we lingered on the bed for a bit before getting dressed and heading to the kitchen for coffee. She then departed. I will not be associated with her, regardless of her true motives. It's just that I will assume full responsibility for my role as a father. Both of their attention was mostly on me, and there was little conversation between them. Abby touched my wife's body while I was doing the doy six-it with her, and that was the only time they kissed when I wanted them to. They hardly spoke to each other except from that. The following story is up next. Tale No. 2. I exacted my vengeance after my wife began acting strangely while I was away on a 3-month business trip. Upon my return, I discovered an individual's socks under our bed and learned of her hidden affair. There was an app where my wife and I met 8 years ago. I'm a 33-year-old man. We weren't seeking anything serious back then. Since we were both young, we intended to savor every moment of our carefree youth, but it was before we fell in love, and everything changed. Our relationship swiftly became committed as we desired constant companionship. I had a feeling my wife was polyamorous even before we met. I naively assumed our relationship would be lighthearted and carefree, so I didn't give it much thought at the time. Personally, I've always stuck to monogamy, but I was really interested to hear about her experience with it. My wife informed me one day when things started to become serious that for the first time in years, it was clear that I was the only one in her mind. When we initially began dating exclusively, there was some tension between us since I felt bad about depriving her of anything by being with just her. Nonetheless, she insisted it was her desire. We got through the rough patches and are still together. We were married after I finally proposed to her. They were literally wagering that I would get a divorce because some members of my family had no idea what polyamory was. I might have thought the same thing before I met my wife because I didn't know much about it. Nevertheless, she clarified everything for me, and I put my faith in her that she could confide in me if she ever had problems with monogamy. My once-in-a-lifetime job chance came, my way around 3 years into our marriage. I had to take a 3-month trip abroad to perform some on-location filming for an advertising firm. They were essentially paying me to go around Asia and photograph the top tourist attractions. Everything you can imagine is covered, including lodging, food, transportation, and more. I consented to take the opportunity after a lengthy debate with my wife. We both felt it was too excellent to miss. That meant she'd be home alone all by herself while I was out of town. With the exception of the week when our schedules coincided and we were going to meet in Tokyo. I bid her farewell and embarked on my epic journey. It was fun. My wife and I would hook up every night on FaceTime. While I was abroad, I didn't worry that anything bad would happen. I contacted her via FaceTime one evening at about 5 o'clock. Throughout my time in Thailand. In our time zone, that occurred at about 8 in the morning. That was exactly how our regular call schedule worked. Typically, she would be in the kitchen sipping her coffee when I would call her in the evening after I had accomplished all of my tasks. But this time she remained silent. She probably slept in or forgot to set her alarm, I thought at first. But I knew in my heart that was completely out of character for her. Getting up at 7 in the morning had always been her thing. Exactly as scheduled, without the use of an alarm. Even so, I had no idea she was seeing another man. Since we would both be busy or asleep the following morning, I simply texted her to let her know how much I loved and missed her, and that I would contact her then. I wanted to know what had transpired, so I called her up when we could talk again. It was more of a curiosity question than an accusatory one because it was so unlike her. Her response was defensive. I wasn't even hinting at anything she made it seem like I was. I cut off the call before tensions could rise. That was the absolute last thing I wanted, as I tried to have fun. Still, I had the uneasy sensation that her reaction had more going on than what I was aware of. We patched things up and were on good terms until she came to visit me in Tokyo. As soon as she disembarked, I was there to meet her at the airport. As her husband, I cherished and missed her dearly, so my anticipation of seeing her was palpable. I wanted to return to our hotel room and have an intimate encounter with her, even though it had only been 2 weeks since our last sighting. After we arrived, she said that she was feeling a bit crabby due to jet lag. We both simply lay down and talked for long because I really got her situation and didn't want to push her to do anything. Whenever I tried to start a conversation with her, she always found a way to turn me down. When she ended our sexual encounters, I never tried to get her to explain why she didn't want to sleep with me by asking her pointed questions. She has always been someone who is eager to have intimacy, so it did strike me as weird. While her vacation to Tokyo came to a close, I still had a week to go on my adventure. It seemed like an eternity, and I was counting down the days until I could come home because I could feel my marriage deteriorating. She still wasn't interested in sleeping with me, even though everything appeared normal when I arrived. Within a few days, I had recovered. It felt like she was trying to stay away from me when she started staying late at work. I confronted her about my growing insecurities about our relationship dynamics when she got home since I had allowed them to fester. My allegations, she told me, were being annoying. As a matter of fact, she tried to justify her late shift by making me feel guilty. I pushed her to see me in Tokyo, so she took time off work, she said. That's why. Because of our heated dispute about it, I slept on the couch. The very next day, a Saturday, she informed me that she had to attend to some urgent workplace issues. She had never worked a Saturday in all the time we had been together. I began to seriously suspect anything was amiss around that time. We had never once complained about her polyamory during our whole relationship. Its head immediately sprang up, though, the second I began to suspect something was off. I couldn't help but question whether she had slept with someone else while I was gone. I told myself for a long time that my thoughts were merely an attempt at emotional manipulation, and that I was just being dramatic. As a diversion, I made an effort to tidy up a portion of the house, rummaged through our belongings, searching beneath the bed for old clothing, trash, etc. It was a sock. Even though it was just one sock, I could tell it wasn't my wife's or even hers. It wasn't my sock, it belonged to someone else. That finally made me think about the possibility that my wife was unfaithful to me. I visited her workplace and combed through her computer's files to find any clues about her whereabouts or activities during her purported work hours. None of her most recent communications suggested that she had an urgent need to visit the office. That solidified my belief that she had been dishonest with me from the start. Although her inbox appeared to be clean, I discovered several photos and movies that she had accidentally deleted but hadn't erased when I viewed her desktop and clicked on the recycle bin. Upon seeing that, my heart plummeted. It didn't take me long to identify the man in the photos. He worked alongside her. At the business events when we met, I had the impression that he was friendly with my wife. I would tease her about it, and she would simply shrug it off and reassure me that he was married, too, so I shouldn't be worried. While I was out of town, I suppose they both saw a perfect chance to cheat on their partners. I started searching for a divorce lawyer the moment I sent the proof to myself. As soon as I realized their treachery, I began plotting my revenge. It was humiliating enough to know that my wife was unfaithful to me, but to find out that she was deliberately damaging not one but 2 relationships while cheating on me with a married guy was the final straw. Using social media, I was able to locate her coworker's wife with relative ease. I wanted to tell her something important about her spouse, so I messaged her to see if we could arrange to meet in person. Despite her initial pessimism, she consented to meet me at the cafe. It broke my heart to see her world fall apart as a result of what I told her. It was exactly how I felt. They damaged our lives together, and I refused to let them get away with their affair. I had to find a method to get even with them. The following weeks, I pretended everything was well with my wife and pushed her coworker's partner to do the same. We were both planning to leave our husbands. However, preceding that, we aimed to arrange everything properly. To ensure that they wouldn't have any time to prepare, we planned to surprise them with our divorce papers simultaneously. After we finished up, I treated my wife to a romantic dinner at a nearby restaurant. She didn't realize I was setting her up for a romantic date. At the conclusion of our meal, she inquired as to the reason behind the gesture, so I thought it was best to explain. I retrieved the documents and passed them to her across the table. She went into a frenzied fit of shock. Despite her best efforts, it was quite a scene. As she began to cry, the other customers in the restaurant watched us. I informed her that I had seen the photos and that I would not be involved with an infidelity. She insisted she hadn't cheated and that I was misunderstanding her words, but I didn't buy it. She will be left to pay the tab since I just departed from the restaurant. After getting a divorce, we moved out of each other's homes and stopped communicating completely. Curiously, I had a message from her coworker's wife asking if we might meet up. We had a good chemistry. The scars are still new, so things are complex, but there might be something there.